um, perhaps we are in a position where we can get started. Maybe, just maybe.
Whenever you're ready.
All right. Well, we're gonna get started right now. We have the panelists are here, and we have about 36 folks that have joined us remotely to get started. We're going to have the mayor of Morgan Hill kick us off with a few words and say hello. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Edith. I promise to keep this short because I know we have important information to get to. I just want to thank everyone for participating in what is today's first of a series of webinars that will help our community and our business owners get through this very tough time. I also want to welcome the panelists and to thank you for all the, in advance, for the great information that you're going to be giving us. And I also just want to thank our businesses for really the sacrifice that they're making right now in this very tough time. And hopefully that these series will be able to give you comfort and give you important information that will help you and help us weather through this tough time, because we're here to help you in that. We're partnered together and we'll get through this together. All right, with that, I will turn it back over to Edith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate making time here with us today. I know that we have other folks, including our city manager, that are just listening in, and our executive director, president of the Chamber of Commerce, is also on the call. So and all the other teammates that are part of this. So thank you, everybody, for making the time. We're going to try to make this as productive as we can. Two things, just protocol. Check your audio, make sure that you have checked your mic and what have you. And also know that we are taking questions. There's already a chat going on where we'll be able to provide answers, as well as kind of put a Q&A on the website. And with that, this session is being recorded and is being streamed. So let's go over the agenda. And I don't know, Michelle, if you're driving. Thank you for helping us. Next page. So the program today is all about financial resources. One of the biggest challenges that I have is that personally, I'm just overwhelmed with the amount of information that is coming in, and is coming almost on a daily basis. And one of the things that we've done from the city side is we're trying to compile that information and all the relevant links on a page that is dedicated for businesses and employees. And even that seems like a lot, and it seems way too much. It's just like endless links. One of the things that we tried to do in a recent newsletter we sent out was to simply just identify the biggest key resources. And that has gone out with just like the emergency resources by SBA, the economic injury loan, as well as the PPP program and what have you. Hoping to just distill some of that information. The plan today is to hear directly from SBA on the programs, and also from our Morgan Hill Fund that not only runs their own program, but Andrea, you have some really good information on PPP as well with your slides. And then one of our biggest resources is our partners at SBDC. A lot of information. I'm not going to speak for the rest of the presentation. It's going to be our folks. We're going to try to keep it at 15 minutes on the presentation so we can open it up to Q&A. So with that, I am going to turn it over, and then you can just pass it on to the next speaker or the next program. Julie, if you can introduce yourself and just run us through the program, and then after that, hand it over to Andrea.
Okay, great. Thank you, Edith, and thank you, Mayor Constantine and the whole team at Morgan Hill for the platform today and the ability to talk to you all. As Edith had said, there's a lot going on and there's a lot of changes, and it's a lot of information to take in. So I'm going to try today to kind of break down some of the programs from the SBA side, and then tee it up for our resource partners at the SBDC, for Dennis King to talk to you more about what they're doing as well. But I will caveat and say that it is, there is a lot that's going on, and there are daily updates. Some of these programs that I'm going to talk about are a direct result of the CARES Act legislation, which was passed officially 2 weeks ago. So we've created some and implemented some new programs in under a week, and trying to get the, so there's still developments and enhancements and clarifications going on as we're moving through these programs. So I'm going to answer what I can for your questions, but let me just give you some of the basics, and then we'll pass it on to the next team member here. But the types of assistance from SBA, I like to kind of categorize in 2 different buckets: a debt deferment or relief bucket, and then also a loan bucket. So in the debt deferment and relief, 3 types of programs. For anyone who might have existing SBA disaster loans, maybe from a prior wildfire or floods or other issues that have happened in the last couple of years, your loans, the payments on your loans are automatically being deferred now through December 31st. So nothing you need to do as a borrower, that's automatically happening for you. Secondly, if you have any existing SBA debt, whether it's the 7A program, 504, or even the micro lending program, your lenders have the ability to defer your payments as well. And if that's something you'd like to take advantage of, I do encourage you to talk to your lender, and they can go through the process to do that for you. The third thing, and this is a new program as a result of the CARES Act, is a debt relief program. And so this is for people who have existing 7A loans, or who may be taking out a 7A loan between now and September 27. This program provides 6 months of interest and principal payments. So SBA is actually going to pay 6 months of interest and principal payments for those people, those borrowers. So again, to tap into this program, please go talk to your lender, and we're giving them guidance on what they need to do as a lender in order to tap into this and get the funding from SBA. So your job as the borrower is to start the conversation with your lender, and your lender will talk to SBA. So now on the loan side, because I'm sure that's where the bulk of people's questions lie, I do want to make you aware that we do have an express bridge loan. That is a loan that is available from commercial lenders, specifically our express lenders. There's about 10 of them in the Greater Bay Area, and you can get a list of them on our website. But these lenders can make loans of up to $25,000 using a streamlined process and streamlined paperwork. And this enables them hopefully to push out some working capital to you as a borrower quickly, and maybe to help bridge some gap funding while you're maybe waiting for other sources of financing to kick in. So this is one option. The next 2 programs are Paycheck Protection Program and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. So Paycheck Protection Program is the new program as a result of the CARES Act. So it's been in existence now for a week. So this is for all small businesses, and that includes anybody sole proprietor up to C Corp. It includes self-employed individuals. It includes independent contractors. It's a wide bucket of people who are eligible for this. Includes nonprofits, as long as you're a 501c3 or 501c19. And this is for 8 weeks of payroll costs and some limited non-payroll expenses that include mortgage interest, rent, and utilities. So payroll costs in this case are a broadly defined term. So it not only includes wages or compensation that the business or the might have is paying their employees, but it also includes benefits that you might have, benefit expenses such as healthcare premiums or insurance premiums, or if there's any retirement benefits you offer your employees. All of these costs can be bundled into payroll, the bucket of payroll costs. So again, they're calculated based on an 8-week period of time, and we're looking at last year, calendar year 2019, or the last 12 months, or a shorter period of time if you've not been in business for a full year yet, and looking at your average annual payroll over that period of time, and then you can use that as a multiplier to 2.5% to get to your loan amount that you would be eligible for to apply for. The forgiveness piece of it is the piece that people I know will have a lot of questions about as well. The forgiveness piece is a calculation that is a 75-25 ratio. So in order for that loan to be forgiven, of the total amount that you borrow, at least 75% of that loan, of the loan proceeds, need to go towards payroll costs, and no more than 25% can go towards the other non-payroll expenses. And if you stay in that ratio, you should be able to have the loan forgiven. The general terms of this loan, though, outside of that, is it's a 1% interest rate loan, and it's a 2-year term. It is 100% guaranteed by SBA. The maximum loan size, I should say, is also $10 million. And through this loan, it's very unique. It has a 100% guarantee to the lender. There's no collateral requirements. There's no personal guarantees required. It is a more streamlined process than traditional commercial lending. There's a application that you can download from our website to take a look at. You take that to the lender of your choice. And you will complete that application and then also provide any supplemental documents that they may ask you for. And then the lender will process the loan and disperse the funds directly. SBA is the guarantor in this particular program. I'm going to contrast that with the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, which is a program that is it is a loan, and it's a direct loan from SBA. So in this case, with Economic Injury Disaster Loan, you will apply directly to SBA, and we do encourage you to use our online application form. It's available through our website. This program is for working capital for small businesses and nonprofits who have been economically injured because of COVID-19. So this is a working capital loan to help you cover your business expenses for a set period of time. And these business expenses can include a wide range of things, such as it can include your rent and payroll, similar to PPP, but it also includes accounts payable or any other ordinary business expenses you have, things that you ordinarily could have paid, but for the effects that COVID-19 is having on your business right now. So this program, like I said, is a loan. The maximum loan size under this program is $2 million. And it carries a 3.75% interest rate if you're a small business, and it's a 2.75% interest rate if you're a nonprofit. The loan term is 30 years, and SBA is offering a 12-month deferral on payments for this loan as well. So if you apply today and get funded next month, you would still have 12 months before you have to start repaying. This program, like I said, is available 100% online through SBA, and we're engaging in good social distancing and shelter-in-place practices. So we are going to do this whole process virtually, from application up through loan closing and disbursements. So I do one tip, because this is kind of seems obvious tip, but it's tripped some people up. Whatever email address you submit on the application, please make sure it's one that you check frequently, because that's how SBA is going to communicate with you in this process, through your email. A new enhancement, if you will, to this Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, again, as a result of the CARES Act, is this EIDL Advance. And this is an advance loan that's available for up to $10,000. But this advance, just this advance piece, is also a forgivable loan. So the way they're calculating this advance piece right now is you're eligible for $1,000 for every employee you have. And you as the owner or sole proprietor are considered an employee for this purpose. So $1,000 for every employee up to a maximum of $10,000. And this portion of the whole EIDL loan is forgivable loan as well. So that's kind of the very, very quick overview of those programs. And I know there's probably a lot more questions and details, but I'll let the other panelists speak, and then we'll go on to questions. So, oh, let me go. Yeah, I'm sorry. I have 2 more slides. These slides will be available for you so you don't have to scribble everything down. But obviously, SBA, we're still open. Dennis King and his team are still open for business. He'll talk more about that. But if you go to the last slide, I've just tried to gather some of the links and things that you might need to help get you to the different resources I talked to. The loan application, there's the direct link. We do have a customer service line that's 24/7. And then some links to the Paycheck Protection Plan and the information that supports it. There's interim rules, there's FAQs that are updated daily, and then there's ways to contact us in the district office. Again, we are available, but we are available by phone and email these days. So please reach out to us and or Dennis and his team when he tells you about all the wonderful things they can do for you as well. So thank you, and Andrea?
Andrea,
Yes.
and I think that Michelle is going to give you the ability to drive through your slides. So you can forward through your slides. I know that there's a lot of overlap and you have a lot of information. So you figure out how you can fly through that.
Right. Yes. So I have, my name is Andrea Martinez. First of all, I am the underwriter for the Grow Morgan Hill Loan Fund, which is a traditional SBA 7A loan fund in partnership with the city of Morgan Hill. And I did attach 2 different slide presentations. One is one that my organization just put on yesterday and has a lot of information comparing the PPP loan program and the EIDL loan program. And then it also has a bunch of information regarding revolving loan funds that we have been helping different cities and counties start, and in order to sort of fill this gap, because a lot of people are asking questions about how long does it take to get these PPP and EIDL loans. That is something that is still sort of being determined. What I know from working on the streets is that there are a few clients that I've worked with that submitted, EIDL applications maybe around the 17th or 18th of March and are just now getting their loans closed and funded. It's supposed to be working quicker than that, but obviously everybody's systems are very overrun right now. There's been thousands and thousands of applications submitted. The EIDL loans are going directly through the SBA. The PPP loans are going through other lenders, but everybody's online application portals have been very overrun, but things are starting to move and to get approved, but it is taking more time. So the question of how long it will take is, unfortunately, there's not a great answer for that right now. Things are, again, evolving sort of daily, hourly. But I will go through this presentation pretty quickly. And let's see, I'm not sure that I am controlling it. So
Andrea, this is Michelle. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
You
you.
should be able to use your arrow keys or your mouse to click the presentation forward.
Alrighty. So I am trying that. And nothing is happening. I have arrow keys and not a mouse. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's working. Good. Okay, so these are the slides that I wanted to talk about first. The comparison between the EIDL program and the PPP. I know that Julie just touched on it, but we have these 2 slides here that are kind of breaking it down for you via, what the programs both cover, interest rate, terms, all of that is on these 2 slides. But essentially, what we understand is that if you do get an EIDL loan, that the intent is that it is refinanced with a PPP loan. Also, what we know is that the EIDL program is already up and running. It's an existing SBA program, and so it has a little bit more action and history. So those loans are happening a little bit faster than PPP. PPP literally came into legislation 2 weeks ago and has been operational for 1 week. So there's a lot of things that are still unknown and uncertain about that program. And it is probably going to take a little bit longer to process. But you can apply for both programs. The highlight there is that you cannot use the programs for the same uses of funds. So if you're going to apply to EIDL, you can apply for other operational expenses like rent, things like inventory and receivables would be acceptable uses of funds under EIDL, but not under PPP. PPP, 75% of the loan must be used for payroll and payroll related expenses. So that's literally from your payroll reports and those other like fringe benefits like Julie was talking about. It does include other expenses like medical expenses that you pay for your employees, benefits. The jury is still out on those defined benefit plans and the match programs like 401ks or 403b matches. I've seen most people including those in their application, but I'm not sure if those are actually eligible yet. But it's better to include everything you can, and then SBA will tell you what's eligible. But again, the expenses can't be duplicated. So the example that we're giving is if you got an EIDL loan and you identified payroll expenses, let's say from March 2020, you cannot include those same payroll expenses in your PPP loan, which is another reason why I think they do want to refinance the EIDL with PPP to make sure that they're not duplicating and double dipping. So that is one of the main sort of caveats with the program. You can't apply to both, but you cannot use it for the same expenses. And then the forgivable portion, if you use the funds for anything other than the forgivable portion, that portion of the loan will be at the 1% for typically that 10-year term. The forgivable portion will be forgiven within the first 2 years is what the guidance is on that. So that's a little bit more information about the two differences of those two programs. Existing banks seem to be running PPP only for their existing customers. So you must have a existing business bank account, business checking, a business loan. Those are the customers that they are focusing on first. Some banks are opening it up to everybody. It just all depends. Again, a lot of them accepted a bunch of applications about a week ago, Friday, and then they declined portals because they were overrun. I do believe there is going to be additional funding coming out for the program, so there is still time. I wouldn't panic. I think, letting sort of some of the dust settle, and as the federal government figures out all the regulations and continues to come out with the guidance for the lenders, there will be more traction and the loans will be getting done more quickly. Okay, and so the Grow Morgan Hill Fund is an SBA loan program. We are an SBA lender. We are going to be doing the PPP program through Grow Morgan Hill. And like the banks, unfortunately, we're going to start with our existing portfolio of borrowers. We anticipate being able to open it up to everybody. We are fundraising for about $50 million right now nationwide so that we can provide these loans everywhere to everybody. But again, it's all about our source of funds, basically how are we financing the loans to then get them out onto the street. But we are working with our banking partners on that, and I do believe we're going to have a solution very soon. So we are tentatively accepting applications for our existing borrowers. In the meantime, we are also still lending somewhat business as normal. I did get a transaction approved last week, and I am underwriting another one for businesses that can still show that cash flow repayment ability. The traditional 7A program hasn't changed. The new borrowers are going to get the 6 months of debt relief. The principal and interest payments will be paid by the SBA for those new borrowers. Everybody that is approved basically within 6 months of the date that the legislation was approved, which is March 27th. So essentially you'll have until September 27th any SBA loan that happens traditional between now and then will get the 6 months. We are still going to be looking for cash flow ability to repay those loans. And the example I can give of the loan that I am working on now to get approved, it's a bakery, and they were doing about 30% wholesale directly to restaurants and coffee shops. But they also have 70% of their revenue was generated from direct retail customers. So they have completely switched to online. They're taking online orders only, and they're doing pickup and delivery. And actually, the retail side has actually picked up and more than made up for the decrease that they've seen in their wholesale business. So they are showing cash flow positive for 2019 year end, and also for the first quarter of 2020. They are showing that they have the ability to repay. So that would be an example of a business that has been somewhat affected by this, but is sort of pivoting and has, been able to redefine a little bit their business model and to maintain their success. And they also have been implementing, obviously, additional safety measures in the way that they are doing their business to comply with all the state and federal regulations on that. So it would just be a small example. They are going to be opening a larger brick and mortar, and that's what the project is for. I will mention that they have good cash flow, but it is an unsecured loan. There is no real estate or collateral on that one, but they have excellent credit and have demonstrated a strong business plan and that repayment ability. So regular loans are still getting done as well, but mostly we are focusing on disaster relief. So my slides here for the Grow Morgan Hill Fund are explaining, what the criteria is to apply. We do have a good amount of funds in the Grow Morgan Hill Fund. I believe there's like 1.5 million in capacity available to lend. You do have to be located in the city of Morgan Hill to be eligible. And we are looking at, all business uses, things like working capital, equipment, tenant improvements. We can finance commercial real estate. All of those business uses of funds are all eligible. And I believe the slide that I'm on now is showing you what the typical application package includes. Very close to SBD network to package those loans. They are there and available for you to help you put together your package, both for PPP and for EIDL and for traditional lending sources. The package is somewhat similar for all of those. And I think that is a good segue, and I'll stop there and pass it to our SBDC partners.
And thank you, Andrea. Reminding folks two things. One, check the audio, because we're hearing sometimes people come on and off on the audio. And two, there's a lot of really good questions that are coming in and on chat. And Allie, thank you so much, and other folks that are providing answers. So if the panelists can see also the questions that are coming in, we can make sure that we've developed answers for all of them. Andrea, I just learned that so the City of Morgan Hill has a Grow Morgan Hill Fund, $1.5 million still available. It's a small business administration fund. The coolest thing about that fund is that you get Andrea to manage your loan and review your loan documents. And by that, I mean, you don't have a big bureaucracy of a bank. You have her essentially working with you, and that has been tremendous help. I learned something new today. I did not know that you were also acting as a bank processing PPP loans for existing clients.
Yes. So anybody who is an SBA lender, so we're what's called a non-bank SBA lender. We're a small business lending company in SBLC. We have that PLP status with SBA, but we're also a CDFI, a Community Development Financial Institution, which basically just means we're a non-bank lender. But there's only about 10 or 12 CDFIs in the whole United States that have an SBA lending license, and we are one of them. So
Cool.
anybody who is SBA licensed can do PPP. Whether or not they're actually doing it, that's another question.
Well,
Again,
we appreciate your help, Andrea. And in the same context and vein of providing the technical assistance, Dennis, thank you. Talk about your team, your fabulous team that is so busy right now.
They're very busy indeed. Thank you. Thank you, Edith. I hope Andrea will let us know as soon as she's open for PPP loans that are not existing clients. I'm sure we will help direct a flood of people to you. That's certainly a very significant need right now.
yeah, we're anticipating a week to 2 weeks. We will be able to confirm that.
Okay. Well, please let Edith and us know as soon as that
Yes.
happens.
I
Thank
think
you.
packaging the deals and getting them ready now is a good way to proceed.
I'm not sure how long they will wait. So,
True, but
okay. So let me step back. I mean, thank you. I certainly have enjoyed partnering with Julie. She's been a tremendous resource for our community. We are not formally part of SBA, but we actually represent SBA. We're the boots on the ground for Santa Clara County. We're, as a small business development center, the program started back in 1980 under President Carter. There's now 1,000 SBDCs approximately across the country. Here in California, there's about 45 of them. And in Northern California, there's about 20 of us. We're usually one per county, but we are well networked with each other where we swap information about resources and issues on a regular basis. We usually provide our services through workshops and one-on-one advising. But under the current circumstances, we're certainly learning a lot of other service delivery. So we're doing a lot of webinars. We're doing Facebook chats. I think this is going to be a transformative experience for us to be as efficiently as possible providing advice and services to the small businesses of Santa Clara County. Our local funding partner is the County of Santa Clara. And Edith, you and I have worked together for probably a couple decades now, at least getting close to it. So I appreciate what you're doing. We have worked with you and with a number of other organizations. I hope your Chamber of Commerce is online because they've been a great resource as well. Small Business Majority has been providing some very powerful educational tools. And so we're very delighted to partner with them as often as practical. Let me see if I can keep going here. How do we? Okay, so if there's any theme that we want to get across, small business development centers are really about providing access to information and resources for people to sustain and grow their business. And that's certainly being challenged more than ever. When we do so through our workshops and through our one-on-one advising, it's free. And if there's any opening and closing messages, that we're here for you. I'm trying to see how to keep connecting this. The website is what we're encouraging people to, there's a lot of information. Edith, I think you made the comment about being overwhelmed with information. That is clearly the case. There's a lot of confusion out there. What we would strongly recommend for people is to invest a little bit of their time to come to our website. Because of our access to SBA and our network of SBDCs, our websites are updated regularly. As Julie pointed out, there's changes constant. The rules and regulations and resources that existed a couple of days ago may very well have changed today. So one way to stay on top of things is to periodically check the websites. You can apply, there's a little button right here. You can apply to be an SBDC client. It's a good way for us to track your progress and be able to be an advocate for you on other matters as well. Again, the services are free. to do that. So next. So we have a magazine that's both available online and hard copy that describes a wide variety of other services that we do. And it's tempting to go into it. Most of our services are available in the languages of the community. Did I just say next? Ah, yes, okay. Here's where we're particularly proud. So if you've gone to any business gathering, almost any gathering at all in Morgan Hill in the last 6 or 7 years, you'll probably have run across Ali Lopez. She has not only a very practical business experience being in business herself, she certainly has a passion for serving others, and Morgan Hill is definitely her passion. So whenever it seems like there's 2 or more business people gathering in Morgan Hill, there's probably a shadow with Ali right there as well. And so we're delighted in her continuing advocacy. We're kind of cloning her for the rest of the county. That's been difficult to do, but she's been a wonderful resource for us. But again, when you do reach out to us for our services, our business advisors are usually owners of business or a formerly owned business. So they've got real practical experience. They're very comfortable in English, Chinese, Vietnamese, particularly Mandarin, Portuguese, and other languages. So ultimately, and of course, Spanish, we've done a lot of workshops in Spanish. We were on the cusp of doing a number of workshops in other languages when suddenly we're dealing with the coronavirus. And I expect on the other side, we'll be back to being very proactive in the workshops that we do as well. Next. So one of the areas that we're particularly focused on is access to capital. So we have worked with the Grow Morgan Hill Fund and to direct them where they should sign up. They're able to sign up online. Looks like I've got a whole new, something else happening on the website here, folks. Yeah. In any case, they can sign up through our website. They can sign up directly. But if they've got questions along the way, certainly our advisors are quick to step up to, again, walk them through that process or help them fill the gaps. What we strongly recommend, if they have any doubt at all, go, particularly for the economic injury disaster loan, please apply. As soon as you can, apply. There'll be an SBA loan officer assigned, and most likely in 2 or 3 weeks, they'll get back in touch with you to identify if they need any more information. You do need to keep in mind that both of those loan programs are to cover loss. And so they're going to need some documentation in terms of what that loss is all about. Great. I guess we're growing flowers now. Okay.
Thank you, Dennis. I see some of the comments on the chat that Nick refers to Ali as an angel. So certainly she's touching a lot of businesses. In a different webinar, we saw that Ali was, she said that she was taking like 180 phone calls a day. But she had successfully helped one of the businesses apply. I think it was for the injury program, the EIDL program, for a substantial amount of money. So we appreciate that. It just
came in. It just came in yesterday. So the good news for us is we can say, hey, folks, the program is working. Take advantage of it.
Okay. Very good. Did you finish your slides? I wanted to see what else we have as far as questions that we can just go through. I know there's a lot of back and forth, people answering questions on the chat, but I think it might be good to just open it up a bit.
I think we would look forward to the questions. So the bottom line is we're here for you.
Appreciate it. So back on the slides, Michelle, are you, do you have the PowerPoint? So I am on differences between loans on the slide at the moment?
Yes.
Actually, Julie did a masterful job of covering this already.
Yeah, do you want to fast forward, Michelle?
So there is a couple of thoughts to keep in mind. And so one is that the changes are taking place all the time. So what we may have announced a week ago, most of it is probably current, but even yesterday there were some changes. Julie announced some of them already. The good news is that most of the changes from the federal government side seem to be opening up the process for people to be more efficiently participating. So that's a good news. The length of time that it takes for people to get processed, that's going to be a continuing challenge. But at least the good news is that we're now actually seeing results. The other thing is much more difficult to talk about, and that is dealing with, unfortunately, in a crisis, there are some people that still exploit others, and there are scams out there. SBA announced about a week ago that there were several sites that were out there as opportunities supposedly to help people through the process, but they had their own agendas in mind. So I would say beware of false idols, beware of false programs. If you run across somebody that has contacted you because they say that you deserve this program and they ask for your credit card information or payment up front, be aware that it's probably fraudulent. So you need to be very careful with your information. If you're going to apply, make sure that you trust the source. And that's where your relationships with your banks and with your various organizations, your chambers of commerce, your other business groups, hopefully and us too, that you can trust us to be looking out for you. But if you've never heard of the group, I would be very, very cautious. The other thing that we're hearing, even as yesterday, a number of businesses that have closed their windows and shut down because people are sheltered at home, they're finding that a good number of businesses are now getting invaded. So this is a difficult time. I take comfort and satisfaction with so many people stepping up to look out for each other, but you do need to be cautious because not everybody is that way.
Thank you, Dennis. And thank you, big thank you to the rest of your team. I know we have a couple more slides, Michelle. Just wanted to run through those quickly. This is just to finish the slide deck for the rest of the group. I know that we were flying through some of the slides because we were trying to keep the information concise. This information is going to be available to you to download, to print. I also want to let you know that this is the first of many other roundtables. The next one is going to be specifically for tourism, and it's going to be with the California Travel Association on April 17. Then the next one is going to be with Articulate Solutions to talk about how do we do better communications through this stay at home, right? How now we are realizing how much we need to rely on our ability to get in the computer and move around. So that one, communications and social media, is on April 22nd. So with that, I want to open it up for some questions. One of the things that I always struggle with is, and here's the slide that has everybody's email addresses. Thank you, Michelle. So we will, again, give you access to everybody's email addresses. One of the questions that we know is a hard one is for small businesses that are not, sometimes as a small business, if you're working with cash, there's not a lot of that paperwork to really support the wealth and the strength of your business. And in this difficult time, some of those businesses struggle. And I know that from our side, we also, on the newsletter we send out, I think it was Verizon that had a grant specifically for small businesses that are, they call them low wealth, but it's probably because they don't have the paperwork to show it. So can any of you speak to a couple of things? What do you do with those businesses? Perhaps they're the service providers, the hairstylists, the what have you, that they work on a lot of cash and they all of a sudden may not have the paperwork to show that business wealth. What is your best recommendation for them? What can they do? What is available specifically? So the second one is, what is available for nonprofits? There's a lot of questions from our nonprofit groups. And then the other question is thinking about our retail brokers. So we have a number of amazing retail brokers that as part of their expenses, they have stuff that it could be like memberships with CoStart and softwares and stuff like that. Are those sort of activities eligible? So I just threw a whole bunch of stuff. You guys can decide who can answer that.
I can clarify for the nonprofits, for the COVID-19 related issues, that this is a unique circumstance. Nonprofits are eligible to apply for both the EIDL program and the PPP program. So this has been opened up to include the nonprofit community, and the same terms and conditions and everything apply, but nonprofits are eligible. The only caveat with the PPP program is because this is in the legislation that you have to be a 501c3 or a 501c19 as it stands today, at least, to apply for PPP. But you can apply, yes.
So nonprofits like Chambers of Commerce are 501c6s, and they do not qualify. So there is some discussion to see if that can be stretched. So far, as of today, they do not qualify for federal loans. Now, the governor last week announced that they allocated $50 million that's going to be targeted to those small business entities that don't qualify for federal funding. And that has not yet unrolled. We are optimistic that that will be more clear to everybody sometime next week. I don't know if that's going to include nonprofits that don't qualify. So we're looking forward to seeing what will happen as that becomes more open. In the meantime, there are all alternatives. Andrea, I don't know if the Grow Morgan Hill Fund, do you require Social Securities, or are you open to I-10s?
As with all federal programs, you have to be a citizen or a legal permanent resident, unfortunately. Okay. So I'm actually working on a transaction right now where I'm trying to make something work for a family-owned business where everybody except for one member of the family has a social and is a citizen or a legal permanent resident. You have to get tricky with the ownership. The person who doesn't have any, who's technically undocumented, needs to not own 20% or more. That's the kicker.
Good luck on that.
So that we don't have to require the personal guarantee.
Edith, to answer your question, there are alternative lenders, we don't need to announce them now, that we work with that do accept I-10 numbers. And so we would probably work with them on a case-by-case basis to find the most appropriate match.
Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you. So if somebody, so they should go to you. So what about the hairstylist? Just as an idea, as a hairstylist, how do they're the, they don't have employees, and what's your best recommendation? I think that was one of the questions that came in.
My hope is that they would have self-identified as a sole proprietor. And if they filed that way with their taxes under Schedule C in their most recent tax, if that's the case, then they do qualify for the federal loans.
Yeah.
Yeah. And additionally, go ahead.
Yeah, they would apply for themselves as a sole proprietor, and then their employees or their 1099s can apply on their own. For PPP specifically, you cannot claim 1099 as an employee on your payroll for that calculation that they're asking on that application. The 1099 employee has to apply for PPP directly themselves.
Yeah.
Is that what you were going to say, Julie?
That's exactly what I was going to say. So beautiful. Yeah. They're eligible. It just depends how they do it. It's
how you apply. Yes. And there is a calculation for self-employed based on, I believe it's their net income. Again, I'll defer to Julie.
It's wages, commissions, income, or net earnings from self-employment. So that's what fits into that payroll bucket definition.
And they just opened it up for sole proprietors just this week. I know it was starting with
today.
Right?
Yeah,
Today,
today the self-employed and independent contractors could apply. Sole proprietors could apply starting last Friday when it opened, but today is for independent contractors and the self-employed specifically.
Right. And so the difference between a sole proprietor and self-employed, I just want to talk about that really quick. The sole proprietor, you could be filing on your Schedule C as a sole proprietor, but with an EIN number and paying wages to employees. Whereas if you're self-employed, you're basically a sole proprietor that only has the one employee, yourself. So you don't have anybody on payroll. That's the difference. Because somebody who is self-employed is probably a sole proprietor as well. But it depends on if you have employees or not. I've gotten a lot of questions on that one as well.
Thank you. And again, I appreciate Lourdes and Ali who are answering a lot of the questions as they're coming in, and I'm trying to figure out what hasn't been answered yet. One of the questions we had from a company that is a sizable company in Morgan Hill was specifically, I think, to the PPP as to what were the things that were eligible. And I think he was going to join us today. I don't know if he's here. But we continue to get questions on that. And Andrea, when I was going through your slides, I knew you just kind of flew through your slides. But one of the things that I found interesting that I learned was the Main Street program for larger companies. And and I thought, oh, okay, this is great. This is new resources. So I don't know if you can drive the PowerPoint to just walk through a couple of those slides, because I don't think you mentioned it in your comments. And so Michelle, can you let Andrea move the slides? And maybe Julie, can you talk while Andrea's looking for her slides, talk about the PPP and what is eligible in terms of things that they can apply for? I know you covered it, but in more granular detail.
Okay, so things that they can use the loans proceeds for? Yeah. So PPP is a little bit more narrowly tailored than the EIDL program. So under PPP, it covers payroll costs and non-payroll expenses that are specific to interest on mortgage, rent, and utilities. The payroll cost definition, this is something I do encourage people to go read the interim rule to see the definition, because it's lengthy and I won't get it all from memory, but essentially it is any kind of cash compensation, whether it's in the form of, wages, salaries, commissions, tips, kind of a broad bucket, plus benefits that you may be paying to your employees. So those associated costs, if you have, health insurance premiums, for example, if you have sick and vacation time and any associated costs with that. There are some caveats on that might not, we don't want to get too into the weeds on this, but basically any of those associated costs for benefits you might pay your employees can also be bundled into that definition, that lump sum total you're going to calculate as payroll cost.
So the question, thank you. And the question was specifically that came in earlier in the day, or I think it was today, is about demonstrating need and who determines the need. So in the case that companies are working with other companies for their supply chain, and they're eventually going to be impacted by that, how do they demonstrate that, and who reviews that?
Well, for under the Economic Injury Disaster Program, the EIDL program, it is, you're only eligible to apply for that one if you have some sort of what we call economic injury. And so typically it's a loss, or a loss in revenue, some sort of adverse impact on your business because of the effects of COVID-19 in this case. So it's a pretty low standard. Most businesses have had some sort of economic impact on their business, except maybe if you're a toilet paper manufacturer, you might be the only ones. But
or grocery stores.
but most businesses, it's pretty easy to demonstrate some sort of impact on their business. The PPP program, remember, the policy, the purpose behind it is to help retain your workforce or to rehire them if you've had to let them go for any reason. So there's two slightly different policies behind what's driving those particular programs. So that's something to keep in mind. And I don't know, Andrea, you want to add to that from the PPP side? But.
Yeah, again, the PPP, I mean, it's in the name of the program, Paycheck Protection Program. People keep saying payroll, it's actually paycheck. And it's kind of like a replacement or an, what's the word, enhancement to the unemployment program. Everybody, there's 17 million people in the United States are on unemployment. 6 million applied in this last week. I mean, I literally just heard that on NPR yesterday. So trying to address the 17 million people that are out of work, because one of the things about PPP, so you have until June 30th to rehire. If you made payroll changes between February 15th and April 26th, you have until June 30th to rehire those people and to be eligible, because they're looking at your payroll from the same time period from 2019, actually. So they're looking at average payroll that you had before COVID affected you. And so they're looking for those months right before COVID, and then they want to see that you've maintained that level. And if you laid anybody off between February 15th and April 26th, you need to rehire them to be eligible for the full amount of the PPP loan. Again, there might be a smaller forgivable portion. That person, if you didn't rehire, let's say all 5 employees that you laid off, let's say you rehired 3 of them, only the 3 are going to be forgiven. The other part will be a 1% loan. So it's still a really great loan. I mean, regardless, the terms are fabulous. I don't know who gets 1% money. That's why we're trying to figure out how to fund it. We borrow at usually 2% and then relend at 4 or 5%. So we are trying to work with our partners to lend to us at 1% so that we can then lend again at 1%. So it just has to do with the forgivable portion. You will still be eligible to keep that loan. It will be a loan though, and you will have to repay it at 1%. But in order to get it forgiven, you must, rehire those folks back. Again, so yeah, it's all about 75% has to be payroll related for PPP. That's why I think you can do both. If you have other expenses that exceed 25%, you could maybe get an idle for that. And then, sorry, go ahead, Dennis.
Just a practical perspective is we strongly suspect that all the folks that are sheltered at home are waiting for the toilet paper manufacturers to roll out even more product.
I love the pun there. So I did get my slide up here that Edith was referring to about another federal assistance program called the Federal Reserve Main Street Lending Program. And this is really designed for very large businesses that cannot fit into the SBA size standards, can have up to 10,000 employees, revenues of 2.5 billion. I mean, these are very, very large companies we're talking about here.
Andrea,
and so,
sorry, the slide, and just for my clarification, because as you're speaking, I'm thinking of companies. It says for businesses with up to 10,000 employees, but is there a minimum? Is there a size minimum requirement?
So you probably want to think about it in between those, so what the PPP and all the SBA programs is typically 500 employees, right?
So above 500.
Yeah, it is a little bit higher for certain industries. So you want to do, it's that middle, it's technically considered the middle market between what's small from SBA's perspective and what's a large, like Fortune 500 company. I'd say, yeah, above 500 employees typically.
And so I can track with you as I'm thinking through companies here. So many of our companies are global, right? Mm-hmm. They have either their headquarters here or a branch in Morgan Hill, but they might have facilities in other countries. So is the up to 10,000 employees a collective size for the company as a whole?
Mm-hmm. That is a good question that I don't know. Honestly, we've been waiting for this to come out. This was in the legislation from March 27th, and they just came out with this yesterday. We put this in our slides yesterday morning for a webinar we did at 11 a.m.
All right.
So this is very new.
Walk us
I
through
think
it.
my next slide does have, which I'm trying to go to, I think there's a link to a website on the next slide that has more information from the feds on this program. I believe it's designed to be that regional, this home treasury.cares should have more information about the Main Street program. But I do believe it was designed for the regional centers, like for that 10,000 in that location, I believe.
Got it. So the point being that for those larger businesses that don't qualify for the other programs can now apply for this Main Street loan.
Correct. And then again, this is another program from the Treasury Department to try to
Very
the continuum of services there.
Michelle, if you are on, I'm wondering, I see that that the team has been answering all the questions as they've been coming in. I'm wondering if this is a good time to just open it up with audio to see if anybody else has any other final questions for the group.
Yeah, that is just fine. For folks that are joining via a tablet, iPad, iPhone, or computer, you should see 3 dots or a more button, and in there is a raise your hand feature. So if you raise your hand, we can call you. There are a couple people who've dialed in, so I'm just going to allow them to talk, and they can unmute and speak because they don't have the option to raise their hand. I do see that Pilar Mendoza has her hand raised, so I'll go ahead and unmute her, and she can ask her question. Pilar, you may have to unmute yourself. There we go.
Okay. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Thank you for all you guys, for this meeting. I have a question. I already do the application for the SBA loan, and I have a roofing company. I just still waiting for them to back to me. And also for the PPP program, I have a Wells Fargo. So Saturday morning, they have interesting on the PPP. I put my name and the company name. So I just only received an email from Wells Fargo. They have waiting list, but they don't confirm to me if they will do the PPP for me. So I don't know at that point if I need to go to another bank to do the PPP program.
May I make a comment? Pilar, Wells Fargo got overwhelmed and then shut down, but as of yesterday, they have opened again. So whoever you talk to Wells Fargo, I would get back to them immediately. Do not wait. Do not wait till the end of the day. Please get in touch with them as soon as you can.
Yeah, I already called them and they say I'm on like a queue because I have an interest on the PPP program, but they don't send me anything to send the paperwork, the paperwork they asking. So when I call, they say I need to waiting for another email, but I don't know when.
Well, they have opened up as of yesterday. So maybe you're talking to the wrong person in Wells Fargo, but Wells Fargo is open at least today.
Oh, okay. I will call right now after, finish the meeting to see if they have, because
Okay.
they don't give me any application or anything yet. Just only the interest I have on the PPP program, that's all.
When did you apply for the other loan, for the economic injury loan?
In March 30.
March 30.
Okay, so that's, you should be getting the EIDL loans. They're really starting to move more this week. So I would keep checking your email any day now, you should get it, any moment now, you should be getting the first messaging back from SBA on that one.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I'm telling people too, just in an abundance of caution, because we're communicating via email, always double check your spam folder too, just again, abundance of caution to make sure email didn't get hung up somewhere.
The next speaker we have is Sidney Chambers.
Hi, I have a comment to Pilar about the Wells Fargo, because we have also expressed interest, and we're getting emails every other day saying that we are on their list, but they have like 170,000 applicants. And so they're going through now that they've opened it up, and wherever you are in the queue, you get moved up as they process more loans. But you should be getting a notification like every other day from them on your status.
But if she hasn't applied, she doesn't need to apply.
No.
It's a queue that they created, I think. Yeah.
Right, and then once you get up into the queue, they will send you the link for the application.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, every bank had set up slightly different processes because, you know, they could determine how they wanted to accept. So some were taking applications directly, some were setting up these channels to like express your interest and maybe some basic information, and then they were getting back to the applicants as they went through the queue. So you got to just check with your specific bank to see what process they're following. But
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next speaker I have is John Horner.
Hi, John.
Oh, not sure about my mic.
There, we can hear you now.
Okay, good. Sorry. Anyhow, thanks for doing this. Sorry I had to join late. Yeah, just kind of reiterating on Wells Fargo. For Thinker Toys, we've been stuck in Wells Fargo electronic purgatory for a week. As somebody else described, they have, okay, we know you're interested. We'll be in touch. And every 2 days you get an email, okay, we know you're interested. And so far, the vast majority of banks are only attempting to serve people that had a business account for that business with them already in February. That isn't what the federal government is saying, but that's the reality for the vast majority. And that's just kind of where we're at.
yeah, that's hearing that, you know, from a lot of businesses. And I know it's frustrating. And I just tell people you can keep trying other banks. I will say, because we want to create as many resource opportunities as possible, SBA is actually onboarding brand new lenders specifically to offer the PPP program. So we're going through a rather expedited process right now. It's the processing of that is being handled by our headquarters in DC. So as soon as we have the information, you know, for this area of who those new lenders will be, we'll be able to share that out publicly as well. Additionally, I just want to point out that there's, you know, a lot of different issues at play here. So the Fed just yesterday, through a press announcement, said that they are going to expand their resources. So there hopefully will be able to be more resources for the lending community to tap into to be able to expand their ability to do PPP as well. So I am, like I said, you know, we said this, I don't know how many times throughout, things are changing daily. So I do recommend you keep in touch with your lender or whoever the other lenders you may have spoken with, because their internal decisions may also be changing as they get more information and get access to potentially more resources so that they can do more lending. And still, you know, they have regulators that they need to follow and adhere to as well, so that they you know, remain in good standing with their regulators as well. So there's lots of different dynamics here. So I just encourage you to be persistent and keep trying.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's kind of frustrating to see on TV in DC, they're saying everything's underway, but in reality, almost nobody's been able to get any money. And then a related thing with the rehiring people, I think the federal program to do unemployment plus $600 is wonderful to support folks. But the consequence for many lower wage businesses is that in the near term, if we get a hold of these people, say, okay, I got your job back. They're like, whoa, hold on, dude. I make $300, more every 2 weeks on unemployment than coming back. So I'll talk to you later. That's just, again, I don't object to people getting the extra money they need, but we have to recognize that's going to be a real reality for a lot of the intention to rehire.
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid point. What I would say is that, you would rehire, you don't have to rehire the same exact person. You have to keep the same employee count that you had. So you could rehire somebody else that maybe didn't have a job or was unemployed, Oh. That's a valid point though, but you don't have to hire that same exact person. You just have to maintain the same count.
Understood. I mean, part of our motivation is we had great people and we really want to keep them. So hiring somebody that never did what we do to now really do nothing, but we're going to pay them to do nothing, that's kind of insane.
Well, I think it's a more motivator to find somebody that is qualified, that maybe was already out of work.
Right. But until we can actually reopen, until I can open my doors, I don't have a lot of work for people to do. I mean, there's some things along, cleaning, organizing, improving our web presence. But until we're open for business, there's not stuff to hire people to do. So I'd be willing to hire our longtime employees and make up stuff for them to do. But I'm not going to hire somebody, I don't know, that was unemployed when unemployment was 2.5%, do not do nothing. You see what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
It is true.
I just got to keep it real here, folks.
Hard especially for those businesses that on the shelter-in-place order, there's very little they can do. John, do you have any other questions? Otherwise, we have 2 other folks that I think raised their hands.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Our next speaker is Nick Gage.
Oh, can you hear me? I just wanted maybe to share our experience that was based on, I think, the comment a couple speakers back. But for those that may have applied to the EIDL program, and we did prior to the 30th of March, what we did realize, and only based on the great work from Ali, thank you again for just staying persistent with us, is that based on the initial month that this was in place, the portal that was up and running was so overwhelmed based on capacity issues, they turned it off and they transitioned to a new portal. But during that transition, many of the applications, including ours, was lost in translation. So after many phone calls, which created some frustration to try to get through to understand where we stood as relates to status, it was recommended that we reapply, which we had to do this past week. So I'm only mentioning that just based on experience that for those that may have applied for the EIDL prior to the 30th, you may want to make sure you connect with SBA as far as their customer service to understand if that application was transitioned over to the new portal, or if not, then a reapplication really is required to get you back in the queue. And there was a lot of work done on our end, along with Ali, to try to understand the status. And we finally had a breakthrough this past week. But it's just based on really the coordination of the effort, the overwhelming applications that are coming in. But based on that, and it's not out of intent, sometimes the coordination of communication doesn't get disseminated. So unless you're persistent, unless you're vigilant on a daily basis to understand where your status is, it's going to be almost overwhelming to be able to make sure that someone's reaching out to you. So my guidance from my learning lessons is to stay on top of it, make sure you're connected with your SBA advisor to make sure that you know where the status is. Now, I did call yesterday and I was able to talk to some from SBA directly, which was wonderful. Unfortunately, they're not setting up the same sort of portal communication, so messages can be exchanged. So I think to John's point, you're in the queue and you're waiting for SBA to contact you via email on either approval, denial, or further information. So there is a lot of just diligence to stay on top of it, but I would encourage everybody on the phone not to lose faith. I think we're all in the queue, but there was that transition, and many may fall in the same spot that we did based on the transition to the other portal.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. And I'd actually just like to expand on that a little bit. One of the reasons we're encouraging everybody to reapply, if you applied before March 30th, is because of this EIDL Advance program as well. That's brand new. It did not exist prior to the CARES Act, which was passed on the 27th. So the streamlining of the application and the relaunch of it was twofold. One, to have a better system that could accommodate the workload that was coming through, the requests that were coming through, but it was also to open up and create the portal for this EIDL Advance as well. Right. So anybody who applied from March 30th onward, you automatically applied for both the EIDL Advance and the regular EIDL. But for those people who applied prior to March 30th, we messaged everybody we had contact information for, and we we're trying to get the word out publicly. Sorry if we didn't get to everybody, but please go in and apply, because that's the only way you can be eligible for the EIDL Advance as well.
And Julie, to your point, we're grateful for that advanced $10,000 for sure. But my experience is you have to check that box off when you reapply. So the box is now embedded in the new application, which again, grateful that the application has been simplified, which is wonderful because the first application was quite extensive. But my experience told me that I had to check the box off if I wanted that $10,000 advance. So it's not an automatic. And of course, just to share frustrations, because I know it's a learning experience for everybody, including the SBA. All the documents that I had submitted prior to that were lost. So I am sure that I'm going to have to probably reposition those documents back into the SBA as I get the email back. But there was a lot of work done to help pre-stage the events that at some point, just based on the coordination, there was a little bit of a slippage on that one.
Yep, I hear you. Thank you for being persistent.
So Julie, Nick has one of our most favorite new businesses in downtown. It's a vegan restaurant with amazing cocktails, by the way. And we were so grateful to see him open, and we were so impressed with the community supporting that business. Nick, I am so appreciative of your tenacity and appreciated your comments today. Just doing a quick time check, it is 3:19. We have about 11 more minutes and two folks here that have their hands raised. Let's see if we can get through their questions. Thank you, Nick.
Our next speaker is Sylvia Gardner.
Hello.
Hi, Sylvia.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, good. I'm so new at this whole Zoom thing. I applied online, and I guess it's the EIDL for the 10K advance, but we have not yet completed the actual form for the SBA loan. I did get an acceptance and an acknowledgement that actually my boss was going to get an email when and if we would get this $10,000. So then I was working on the SBA form, and I found it confusing in that the PPP program, the only place you can fill in a request for funds is the 2.5 times of your, you calculate last year's payroll, that sort of thing. Nowhere on that form did I see a place to add rent, utilities, those other things that supposedly we're eligible for.
Yes, so the EIDL program and PPP are separate. So the EIDL program, if you did the online application and you hit the submit button and you got back a number that started with a 3,
yes,
if
we did,
if you did that, you applied for EIDL. You're done. You successfully applied. Yes.
Okay, the EIDL is just the $10,000.
No, it's the EIDL advance of up to 10,000 plus the rest of the EIDL program, which is the up to 2 million. So there's just that one application that gets you into both parts of the EIDL program.
Oh, okay. So I don't need to do any further EIDL loan thing.
Nope, you're done. And if the loan reviewer has any questions, they will reach out to you directly and ask those questions or ask for supplemental documents if they need them. The PPP program, which is I think the application you were looking at, is separate, and it's run through the commercial lenders, and that one's just for the payroll and a few other non-payroll expenses. So if you're interested in that, you can pursue that, but it's not related to the EIDL program directly.
Okay, I do have a further question. Our banker sent me the latest form, which is different from the one I had before, but I mostly filled it in. But then she also attached a whole list of things that we needed to produce to qualify for this PPP. My question is, do you just go ahead and do the application and provide the backup docs later, or do they want the whole enchilada right at the beginning?
They're probably going to want to see everything at once, because each bank can decide what supplemental documents they want you to provide, but they basically want it, whatever number you derive for payroll costs in your application, they're going to want to see the supporting documents to show how you got to that cost. So it can include a number of things, and it'll depend on what form of business you are and all that, but it'll probably be your tax returns, financial statements. If you have payroll and employees, it could be 941 statements. There's a variety of things they could ask for. So I would definitely, if you're interested in that program and your lender has already told you what they want, I would definitely submit all of that together.
Well, that stuff is going to be hard to get sheltering in place at my house in Palo Alto when the business is in Morgan Hill.
Yeah, I would see how much you have available online, or if you can tap into some, I don't know what they're asking you for, so we'd have to go through, but we'd be able to get your tax transcripts from the IRS, for example, electronically. So.
All right.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you. You answered my questions.
Thank you, Ms. Sylvia. I recognizing we have now 4 people that have questions, and we have like 6 minutes left. So want to be respectful of everybody's time. If you have a question, try to be concise with your question. And I think Michelle might have said that there's still a handful of questions that we didn't get to answer. So whatever we don't get to answer today, we'll try to answer later. So let's go through it, Michelle. And again, just get through the question quickly, and let's see if we can provide a concise answer.
Sure. Our next speaker is Robert Shorey.
Edith, I wrote to you. I'm a dentist in town. My background is I'm a biology major. And I just we're here talking about how to financially survive. And we're assuming that we can all go back to work the same way we could before. We talked about our vegan restaurant. I'm sure they have a certain spacing between tables. We talked about a hairstylist, and they're now ranked as one of the highest risk professions along with dentistry. And I'm pleading to all of us in our communities to ask for rapid testing. We need to know who the carriers are, because many people are asymptomatic. When they come into your business, your restaurant, my dental office, we'd like to know that they're not a carrier. Having less than that will possibly lead to resurgence, and all this help that we're getting financially will be for naught.
Thank you, Robert. I want you to know that your email that you forwarded, and it was a really well-written email, was forwarded to a city manager who has then been in contact with our state and federal legislators as making that request on your behalf and on our behalf. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Bill Haskell.
Bill, are you ready? You need to unmute yourself.
Perfect.
Oh, oh, sorry. Now I just probably Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So may sound a bit strange, but, and I'm sorry I missed the beginning of this presentation, but what are the basic requirements for EIDL? For instance, how much income do I need to show in 2019 or 2020?
It's if there's no like threshold as like how much income you need to show. Basically, it's to help you with your business need that exists today. So they will there's a series of questions in the application where you're just going to draw, maybe largely from your tax returns last year. We're going to look back at what you historically do and how what your revenue looks like historically, what your expenses are historically, in order to determine what your needs are today. So
Okay.
there's just a series of questions that you answer, and they'll be unique, obviously, to your business. But it's again, it's not meant to cover losses necessarily. It's meant to cover your business needs as they exist.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Our next speaker is Shayla Williams.
Hi. I just wanted to let people know that I use ADP, and they created a wonderful package for the PPP loan. Just if you didn't realize that, you can go into your dashboard, and they've created a whole package with everything that you need to submit. So it's all done for you. I just wanted to share that with people. Also, I did ask a question about with the PPP. As a salon owner, I have 3 employees. I was able to submit for them very easily. It all went smoothly, but I didn't know how to submit my own income. And you're told to not submit more than 1 PPP application. So if I submitted for myself as a independent contractor or a self-employed person, it would be a second application. So I'm just confused. They weren't even able to help me at Bank of America. They didn't really know the answer. So I wondered if any of you have heard anything about that.
You should have been able to include yourself, and maybe Andrea can speak more, but I'm wondering if you can if they haven't closed your loan yet, to see if you can amend it, to amend what you submitted.
Yeah, it did say specifically you can only submit the
right, you can only apply once, but I'm wondering if you can amend the submission you already sent in to make sure you're included in those payroll costs.
Yeah, I'll have to try that maybe when they contact me, because there wasn't an option to add myself. I can only add what I can get from ADP, like my employees that have the that I have the information for. It didn't give me an option to put anything else in there.
And this is because you're a sole proprietor and you're not on payroll, because you are doing business as yourself essentially, and you are not on payroll, right? You take draws or distributions. Correct. Is that correct? Yeah. So that is, I don't know if our SBDC folks have more clarity on that. I responded to one of these questions that was asking that they're an LLC and they take draws, and is that, I don't know. I have not seen the guidance on that. Draws and distributions being eligible and how to qualify that. I do not know. We are waiting for guidance from SBA on that. For exactly your situation, because you can't put yourself on payroll because you're a sole prop. So you're not technically an employee, but you should have been able to somehow do a calculation for your own wages. But how you substantiate that for PPP is what the lender does not have guidance on.
Right. There's nothing. And
I don't know if SBA or SBDC, you guys have any more info on that. That's what we've been getting a lot of questions.
Dennis, do you have anything that can help?
Why I don't understand why the business owner cannot use ADP to handle payroll for themselves.
Well, as a sole prop, I don't pay myself through ADP. I would have to submit a tax form. So, I do have a draw, but I don't think that's reflected on ADP.
Right.
No, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be.
It's just your income on your Schedule C.
On my taxes.
So it sounds like.
So wouldn't that, this is Allie, wouldn't that count as a separate entity that's applying? One being her as a sole proprietor?
No.
No?
No, but that's where the net income of her sole proprietorship would be her income. She would be applying to replace
for
that
just
net
for her.
income
As a 1099.
She's not
no,
a
she's a sole proprietor.
Oh, a sole prop, I'm sorry.
So it sounds like when they respond to her, the move is to ask to make an amendment.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, and I would ask.
Sounds that is the move forward. Shalene, are you good with that?
Yeah, it sounds like that's the only thing I can do is once they reach out to me to ask them how I'm able to do that, because I don't qualify for any of the government assistance. I don't qualify for a lot of different things because of this particular situation. So I think that is going to be my only option.
Yeah, she will have to document her draw.
Yeah, you will have to document your draw. It is a nebulous thing though. I would definitely ask about it, and we are expecting to get guidance on that from SBA.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. We have one more, right, Michelle?
Yes.
All right. I
And
know
John
we're running a little bit over, but I think we just have one more right now.
Anjan?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't know that. Okay. Two questions, but just want to give my feedback to the person that spoke before me about the Bank of America. Yeah, I had the same problem. Unfortunately, I have two different corporations with a different federal ID. So first, they told me I have to apply only one and only one application, and then they came back and said, no, if you have a two different federal ID, then you can apply as a two independent company. And they finally just gave me that information yesterday. So I don't know if it may be helpful to anybody or not, but if you different federal ID, you can apply a two different company. Okay, come back to my question. There's one speaker just said about this extra employment, and there may be a problem with the business people that somebody making a little bit more money than they're working at work, and probably he making more money on unemployment, and maybe that prompt him not to come back. My understanding is this, that if I open the business tomorrow and he was on my payroll and I call him back to work for me again, and if he decide not to come, that's called he quit the job. And if he quit the job, then I think in the eyes of the government, you're not qualified for the unemployment. Am I saying this correctly?
I will not profess to be an unemployment expert. I don't know if anybody else on the panel has got that expertise.
So
but yeah,
that's how I read the government guidelines, that if you don't come back, it means you are quitting the job. And if you quit the job, you're not qualified for that. Because this is unemployment for the people who are laid off, not for the people think that I am when shut down, I was making more money. So what the hell, I go back to work for what? Making less money? That's my understanding. Second question, a quick one, is that somebody might know. If I have a LLC, can I apply for the emergency disaster grant without the EIDL?
well, the EIDL program is, you can submit the application. It's an advance. It's up to $10,000. It's based on the number of employees, $1,000 per employee. So you can go in and apply for that. It's technically a forgivable loan. They will, you can go in and apply for that. Yep.
But you have to have an employee for that?
Yes, and if you're the only employee, then you count as an employee for purposes of this calculation. If you're working in the business,
Okay, so I can, but I don't know how to apply for the EIDL loan. I don't need the loan.
It's all one application, so you just check the box for the EIDL advance.
Okay, great. Thank you. This is very helpful. You guys should do quite often. It is a lot of people have a lot of problems, especially people like us in the business. There are so many things changing every day. It's very hard to cope up with all the changes when you have too much worry in your mind. So I really appreciate all of you guys. You guys are very good. I really appreciate if you do more and more like this roundtable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So it looks like we are 6 minutes over. I want to, any last parting words? Otherwise, I would like to wrap it up and be respectful of everybody's time. This recording is going to be saved and is going to be shared on our website. So folks that ask questions, the Q&A will be shared. Additional documents will be shared. You guys have all been sending us really good information. So we will try to share that information. I want to thank all of you. The amount of work that is happening out there is amazing. The businesses coming together to support each other is amazing. We are fortunate. We have an amazing Chamber of Commerce and hopefully Brittany's still on, but she is doing a really great job with trying to get information out at a faster pace than we city would normally do. And we're so lucky to have those partners that can just push out stuff as it comes in. Thank you so much. I want to remind you that we have additional workshops coming up. And it sounds like maybe we need something for employees, so something like that is more associated with employees. We keep on getting questions and we keep on saying, well, we're not the experts. We can't really answer that question. Any last parting words? Andrea, I love seeing your little girl. Thank you for having her say hello.
Sorry. This is, the new norm, working at home in your garage, my garage office here. So you get a little peek into my life.
Well, we should probably end as we opened, and that is clearly all of us are here for your listeners, for your participants. So we want you to be successful. We wish that you'll be healthy, and same for the economy. And the only way that we're going to do that is by working together.
Thank you, everybody.
Dennis. Yes, and hug your little ones if you have them, or any loved ones.
Big ones too.
And then the big one too. Thank you, and a big shout out to Michelle Bigelow and Maureen Tobin and everybody else, John Lang, and anybody else that has supported the mechanics of getting this effort underway. Thank you for our elected officials that joined us and were listening, and our city manager as well. Everybody stay safe. I think it's Friday, even though the days are running, they're blending together. So enjoy your weekend. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.